What's up, hobby friends? My name is Casey, and this is eBay Miniature Rescues. This week, we're going to continue working on this sweet Death Guard army, try and come up with some ideas on how to make a Rhino look really cool. And we got mail time. Why don't we start with mail time, because this week was particularly interesting. Well, let's start with the first thing. I got a letter from Galen. Anyways, he sent a really nice letter. He's mostly a train guy, but he watches the channel to do different hobby things. Now, he was appalled that I used non-hobby Q-tips on my models, and that's true. I use the cheap ones, and they leave hairs on the models sometimes. That's pretty lame. So he actually sent me an awesome assortment of really cool hobby-specific Q-tips that don't do that, and they all look pretty cool. And I'm pretty excited to use these. They're gonna go into the boxes up here on the desk, and I'm definitely gonna use these the next time that I need to remove some stuff, and I do absolutely need to do that. I've got all these models that need to be covered in brown enamel, and then that needs to be removed, so I'm going to be testing these out pretty soon. So thanks for that, Galen. That's pretty awesome. Next up, I got a letter from Tilo, who actually is in my Patreon Discord server, and we are currently doing a community kit bash. So what that is we randomly get partnered up with someone in the Discord who wants to participate, and we send them a box of bits. So someone else sent him bits to make this, and then this gets sent off to the next person in the list to then paint, and we share that on the Discord. So that's one of the fun things in the eBay Miniature Rescues Patreon Discord that we've been doing. On top of that, it's a pretty awesome place to hobby and hang out and get some good feedback. Been really enjoying that, and we've built a pretty fun little community so far. A lot of people who are really involved and wanting to rescue miniatures and have a good time with other people. So if you haven't checked that out, then yeah, I recommend doing that over on the Patreon. And in fact, I'm probably going to be painting this up today, because why not? This is part of the community kit bash, and I thought it'd be fun, now that I just got this in the mail, to paint this up, make it look cool, and now I can show everybody. So I thought it'd be fun. Oh yeah, he also sent me some pretty awesome chocolates. There were more. This is just the one that's left. Okay, obviously this is a very large package of things. I couldn't find a letter in here, but the box said it was sent by Zach, so thank you very much, Zach. This is going to be incredible for this channel. This is going to be a lot of stuff to maintain. Now, obviously there's this awesome bits bag that has, from what I can see, some Space Marine stuff, some Seraphon, just a ton of awesome random bits in here that are going to be perfect for fixing models and really doing a lot. So that's cool. A lovely demon prints that we will definitely be working on pretty soon, because why not? It's Nurgle, it's a demon prince, it has a cool arrow right through his wing. There's a lot of potential with this awesome model. This was a surprise. It's Nagash. I guess I'm gonna have to invest in some Bone Reapers or skeletons now. I do remember having a conversation with Zach about, I believe it was this model, it might have been the Demon Prince, this old Bretonian on Demigryph, I want to say, something like that. Super cool model, and I think there's a lot of potential here. So we're definitely going to be doing something with this pretty soon. All of this stuff, I mean, this channel is fun and rewarding, difficult to maintain. So I appreciate everyone who has supported and sent in bits or even just, clicked like on the video. It's a huge help and I appreciate it very much. Alright, so I glued the bike down to a base that I had, a 3D printed base from an older project, and I've got the rider separated from the bike. They were already separated, but I'm going to keep them apart, do some sub-assemblies. This is a pretty sweet kit bash. I like a lot of what's going on. I really like the fact that the handlebars are this skull and the bones are the handles. That is awesome. I also like that there's a lot of different orc kits kind of bashed into one. You've got some jetpack stuff, you've got the jetpack dude head. Another thing I really like in particular is that the helmet for this guy is actually just a Space Marine shoulder pad. So there's some fun that we can do with that. So let's get this thing primed up all together, since I think there's gray paint over the top, but I want to start with black because we're going to do a lot of metallics. Tires are going to be black, so we're going to go back in with a light coat of black and kind of go from there. So I just finished priming this model and it's pretty much ready to go. It's still drying, so we need to wait for that to really solidify before putting more paint on. But I want to start looking up some parts for this guy. This was sent in a little while ago, and I was talking about doing some major 3D printing with this. The thing is, with 3D printing is, you need parts. You need things to print. So I'm going to go online, see what I can find, and kind of get prepped for this guy. So let's see what we can figure out. There are a few different places that I like to go to get my 3D prints. Now, when you're doing research and you're not quite sure what to find, there are a few free resources that you can find online that make it pretty easy. Thingiverse, or Yagi, or Colts 3D, even My Mini Factory have a really good selection of a bunch of different stuff. And the thing is, while some of it might be a little bit sketchy, you can usually find stuff that fits what you're looking for that isn't a ripoff of Games Workshop directly. Now obviously there are going to be things that just kind of are, but in this case I don't tend to feel too bad about it because the point of actually doing it is to save a model that is otherwise basically just garbage. So if I can find something that fits the aesthetic that I'm looking for, print it out and attach it to that model and rescue it, I'm pretty much okay with it. Now hang on, I know what you're thinking, and I'm not exactly telling you to just go out and rip off Games Workshop every chance you get. What I am suggesting is that if you can get parts that match your model, better than just parts you have in your bits box, then you should be able to fix a model and have it look like it was meant to be and not really feel bad about it. We're going to go over this a little bit more later on, and I think maybe you'll see what I mean. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments. Alright, so I just finished up looking up a whole bunch of 3D printable parts online. Found a really awesome kit that I will link in the description below. I ended up paying for it, but for really nice looking parts, I'm not above paying a couple bucks to just have those available to me. So the idea is we're going to pick out the parts that we want for this Rhino. I'm going to throw them on the 3D printer and let that go. And our cool orc kit bash model should be dry. So we're going to paint that up real quick and see what that looks like. So I'm pretty excited for that. Before that, I gotta change a diaper. You're getting big. Can you say hi? That happened. All right. The first thing we're going to do over this black prime is to dry brush all of the metallics gold. Now the reason for this is it just brings in a bunch of warmth, and we can put some color variation into that gold, and then we come back over it later with silver to make it a really cool metallic.
Next up, I'm going to airbrush all of the rest of the stuff, so the leather and the tank and the tires, with Tire Black from Secret Weapon Miniatures. Then I'll be highlighting that by just slowly adding a bit of ivory into the mix. Next up, I'll start introducing that color variation I was talking about using inks. So first we're going to shoot purple kind of in the shadows, just from below. It's going to mix in with our blues a little bit and give us a nice shadow on the tank and on that leather and on the metals. Then I'm going to come in with a green ink from above, and we're just going to slowly, slightly introduce that to the metals. And again, just to give it some variation. It just looks really cool when it's all said and done. To finish that off, I'm going to dry brush that with a bright silver. It's just going to marry all the colors together and give us a really cool look. Finally, I'll use that same bright silver with a brush and just do some of the highlighting and fill in some of the details that we may have gone over with that airbrush. Next up, I'm going to use Agrax Earthshade, and I'm going to liberally coat pretty much the entire model. I am going to try and not overdo it on the tank and the seat, just to kind of get it in those recesses, but for the rest of it, we want it a little bit dirty. I'm going to take care of this cow head with an off-white, so kind of a light gray. After we have nice coverage on that, I'm going to come in with some burnt umber ink and just do the ends of the horns. Once that's dry, I'm going to bring in a mixture of Agrax Earthshade and Seraphim Sepia and go over the entire skull. This is going to give us a really nice old dirty skull look. And finally, to finish off the model, I'm going to base it pretty much like the rest of my orcs are and do a whole bunch of pigment powder. This is just a brown earth pigment powder. I'm going to be coating this on the base quite a bit just to kind of get in those cracks. And then after most of it's gone, I'm going to lightly go over a lot of the rest of the model. And that's going to really just bring it all together. We're going to get some of that nice, realistic, matted down dirt into everything. And honestly, I really like the way that this turned out. You know, it's got a nice subtle color shift on the tank, which is pretty reminiscent of a lot of kind of old school bikes. It's got that dirty tire, all the other things. There's a little nice color variation. I just like the way that turned out. So now that that's done, we're going to move on to some 3D printing. See how that stuff turned out and what we're going to do with it. And that's pretty much going to mark the end of day one. The prints are printing and they have to just keep on printing. So we're going to come back day two, see what they look like, see what we're going to do with them. All right.
Alright, so like I said, we're going to take a look at some 3D printed parts and I'm just going to give you an update on where we're headed with some of this stuff. So the first thing I want to take a look at is this Rhino. Now, this was sent in as a rescue project by a subscriber. You can see there's some small minor issues here and there. Overall, you know, it could be a lot worse. This was made specifically to be something. It was, you know, cut away, weathered, that kind of thing. We're going to be replacing a lot of this stuff with new pieces. I think what I want to do is take apart almost everything on this entire tank, and we'll go through and kind of re-put this back together. We're going to sand some of this stuff down, try and make it fit a little bit straighter, because we have some 3D printed parts that are going to end up going in. So you can kind of see this is like a back door that it does fit. I mean, I've got the other side of the tank off, so it doesn't fit very well, but we got to get some of this stuff out. The doors ended up printing out pretty nicely. This looks great. So you can see the door looks pretty good. It's got the nice Nurgle symbol on there. It's got the little rotating guys on the bottom, and this will come down, and you got these like spikes that'll attach into the ground. You know, they can run down like a ramp or whatever. So this is kind of the back end of the transport. And so far I'm pretty happy with this. I am printing out a bunch more of these to see which ones I like more. In order to really bring this tank into Death Guard territory, the last thing I did was print out this dozer blade. Now it's reminiscent of the Plague Burst crawlers. You know, that's not far off. Obviously the design is a little bit different, but I didn't want it to be exactly the same. This has some chains and some other types of damage, as well as little nurgly orbs that are just kind of gross. But the actual blades on the bottom are pretty much the same thing. So the idea is that this is going to attach to the front of this. Now the nice thing is this actually came with bulldozer clips. So, you know, got little cutouts on the back, and these kind of sit on there and then go underneath. So you can see this actually fits this contour perfectly. So we can put on this blade and it will glue and attach to this tank, which is really cool. So it's part of that premium kit that I got. So you can see how that attaches right here. So that's kind of where I'm at with this right now, mostly in the planning stages. The other thing I've been thinking about is the good old Nurgle Knight. Now he's in a really cool place right now. He's not technically a renegade knight at all. I did get out some bits though. Now, if we really wanted to go all out on this guy, you know, we've got different things that can turn this into a renegade knight. Now the other alternative is to just replace the hull entirely. This was another pretty nice kit that I found online. It's just straight up 3D printed. It actually looks really nice, and it does fit this knight. So I'm not sure which direction to go yet. If I want to just go representative, or if I want to go over the top. Yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at with these two models. The 3D printing is going really well. I am going to be printing out some better versions of some of these. The shoulder pads I printed out for the knight weren't the best. They didn't come out exactly how I wanted them. So I will be doing some more print testing. We want to really make sure that if we're putting these up against Taro, resin, you know, on the knight especially, that these are the absolute best they possibly can be. And there's no question that these will fit together. Now, 3D printing has been finicky in the past, but like I said, you know, I've shown how using small parts here and there can really make a model. Obviously, we are going for some bigger parts on this knight, which is why I'm a little bit hesitant to, you know, replace the carapace on top. But if it looks cool, then we're gonna follow that. We're gonna follow the rule of cool, no matter what. So the first thing we actually have to do is take some of the ones that we have, some of the pieces that we have, prime them up, see what they look like with paint on them, and if there's anything else we can do in the 3D printing process or in the sculpting program or whatever it is to make that look even better. So let's prime some stuff up and see what that looks like. All right, so I just got done priming a few of the pieces. So let's take a closer look under the overhead camera and kind of get an idea of how these actually look, if they're worth putting on to a model. So let's start with, I guess, the good. Oh, that's gonna give it away, isn't it? Okay. This bulldozer blade looks really good primed. There's not a lot of imperfections. I see a little bit of those 3D printed layers right here. So I don't even know if you can see that on the camera. There are some layer lines right in here. Overall though, I'm really happy with the way that this kit is turning out. Now the same thing goes with this back door. You know, there's a little bit of an imperfection, but I think it's because of the way that I actually printed it out. So when I actually went to print these out, I put the supports on the underside thinking it's a flat surface. Everything is basically flat, you know, and that's not always the best way to go. The problem is there's some sagging, and because it's a flat surface, when you start to get towards the top of those layers, you can really see the topography of those layer lines. So, you know, the best practices are kind of like tilt it back 45 degrees, and hopefully this side that you're tilting back on isn't the one that's going to be showing. Now, with these flat panels, right, I can do that. I can tilt them back and put all the supports on this side, and theoretically everything on the front should look a little bit nicer without giving up those lines, you know. For the most part, really happy with these. I don't think I'll be reprinting the bulldozer blade because I think it's awesome. The doors, I'm definitely going to be printing more. I have a run going right now. There's also some other stuff that we'll get to. So let's get to the bad and then kind of wrap this up, I think. Yeah. These aren't that bad. This in particular is actually very good. You can see a little bit of topography here and there. You can see a few areas, but this was kind of the same thing where, you know, I printed this side down. So, you know, it printed straight up. I did have to change the size of this. This almost fits the knight. Like, almost, but it's just enough off to actually make a difference. Like, these holes mostly line up, but it's a little tight in the middle. So, unfortunately, I do have to reprint this. But, you know, it only took, I don't know, an hour and 20 minutes to print. It's not a huge profile, so, you know, we'll do another better version of this. But it looks good, which is promising. So I'm going to print another one of these out, really take another harder look at it, and see if we actually want to use this or not. This is a little bit disappointing in that this looks cool, but you can see a lot of lines. You know, if you were just printing these out, trying to be, you know, trying to upgrade your kit and not really thinking about it too much, I think this is a really cool way to go. That being said, I don't necessarily want what everybody else has in their, you know, Nurgle Knight. So I don't think I'm actually going to use these. I think, if anything, you know, because I am printing out 2 more of these, trying to get a little bit better version out of it. If anything, I might use this one on one side, just to kind of give the hint that this is becoming a Nurgle Knight or a Death Guard Knight, and then use the other shoulder pad to do some freehand or some stenciling or whatever it is, and really take this up a notch. So I think that's where I've landed so far. So overall, the pieces actually look pretty good. There's not a lot of imperfections in each one. I am going to do some better prints of the ones that I'm thinking actually of using. But other than that, like, I'm pretty excited about the way that these are going. I mean, I said this before, you know, on another episode of this channel, that 3D printing is definitely the way to go for rescuing models. You know, and we're getting beyond rescue territory with this knight a little bit, but, you know, if you had a knight that didn't have stuff, this was missing parts originally, and I just happened to have, you know, the other shoulder pads and all this stuff. If you didn't have those parts, you could find them for free and print them out. Now, obviously, you would need a 3D printer, but the fact is, 3D printing is getting cheaper every day. You can buy, you know, an Anycubic Photon for like, what? Right here. I'm gonna put it up. That's how much they are for like a basic entry-level model, and that's all I'm using. I'm using basic entry-level models. So you can do it. You can rescue models using 3D parts. Of course, there are some aesthetic things that people might not enjoy as much as maybe I do. Maybe you want your parts to be super high quality all the time, no matter what. In which case, there are plenty of companies. Like, you know, I got parts for this knight already from a good company that makes high quality resin pieces that look great with the GW plastic, and in a lot of cases even better. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling on about 3D printing, but yeah, I think I'm pretty excited about the direction that things are going. We'll have to play around with a few more things with the 3D printing and kind of see where we end up, what we're going to use, what we're not going to use, but we made some good progress this week, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. So thank you for joining me on another miniature rescue. If you enjoyed something about this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, as it really helps out the channel. Once again, I'm Casey, and I will see you in the next video.